What's good, guys? Welcome back. I just wanted to give you all a brief update. Last week I didn't post a video. I wanted to be able to post on my YouTube just to let you guys know. But we had a plumber in my family's house and I was learning the plumbing trade. So can never be too upset about learning a new skill. I say to always acquire new skills, acquire new traits. Because there's always going to be somebody looking for that type of work. And you may find it handy even if you're on your own or even when you're married. But what I want to really share with you today is, since we've gotten into, just the basic things. If you watched my previous videos, you now have the concept of what I'm talking about in regards to psychology, relationships, how you carry yourself, personality, things of that sort. So today I'm going to be talking to you about attachment theory, and it's also known as attachment styles. Now this represents the relationships and bonds that we share with long-term partners. So generally this is romantic partners. Sometimes it can even be later on, could be bosses. Mainly it's partners. And it influences how we connect with them, and it's based off of how we were treated as a small child. So the very first time that I heard about this concept was in high school, of taking a class for advanced psychology, and we briefly touched up on it, but it wasn't until later on that I dived much deeper in community college taking child psychology. And if you guys have any questions as to why I'm taking all these classes, the bottom line is I wanted to be a psychologist for a number of years. Just like all of us, we tend to have a career path that we follow. And my freshman year, I wanted to be a firefighter. Junior year, I wanted to be a narcotics officer. Senior year, I wanted to be a chiropractor. And all through that, I also wanted to do psychology. So I think it's important that we understand that even as children, teenagers, and as adults, it's okay to shift back and forth, back and forth. Generally, when you're about 21, I would suggest you have at least a generalized idea of what you do want to go into. So yes, I definitely wanted to become a psychologist, so that's where a lot of this information comes from. That is what drives me as an individual. And I want to impart that knowledge to you guys. And I want to make it fun and exciting and educational, because I don't like to just sit through boring lectures about things unless that's your forte. If you're into welding, maybe you can sit through an intensive learning process from your instructor of how to weld, how to seal off 1/4-inch pipes, things of that sort. But for me, I like to just give that knowledge to you guys, wrap it up as best as I can, and summarize it, and then give you the information to later go off of, should you be super interested in what I'm teaching. So in 1958, John Bowlby became one of the most well-known psychoanalysts that worked with attachment theory. In the 40s, he decided to spend his time at a children's hospital in London, where he had encountered a number of cases specifically related to emotional disturbances, distress, things of that nature. So inspired by the disconnect that was then formed in post-war Europe of that time, and later on, just seeing the lasting effects of what war can do to a child, he created a report for the World Health Organization on mental health. In the report, he theorized that maternal deprivation in particular caused crucial changes in the child based on the affection and relationship that they had with a parent or caregiver. Now specifically, this was aimed towards maternal figures, but this can apply to paternal figures or grandparents, and on, so forth. So if we fast forward to the 1960s, there's a very famous woman who was also a psychologist named Mary Ainsworth. Mary Ainsworth, in this time period, was known for the strange situation theory, In essence, she was testing Bowlby's theories, but she was also working out her own equations and experiments. Now in the study, because it was a study, she took a small child and she took the mother and she would put them in a room, and there was one-way glass that she was observing all this in. And she would take them through a various number of processes where the mother would leave or the mother would be there, and they would also allow a stranger to come through when the mom was gone. And so this repeating process for the child, when they're in there, that the psychologist is analyzing, and they take them through a number of steps, and she comes up with some conclusions from it. Because sometimes when the mom's gone, okay, so for example, the mom would be there, and the stranger would come along, and the baby or the child would cling to its mother. But when the mother left, and a stranger came in, there was points where the child would either run away from the stranger, or it would actually cling to the stranger. When later on the stranger and the mom were in the same room, it would cling to the stranger rather than the mom, because now it has rejected the mom's maternal efforts to nurture that women are created to do. Now the issue with Bowlby's theory is that he evolutionarily believed we were just programmed to seek attachment with others that help us survive. So it wasn't because we loved them, it was just because it was comfortable and we don't want to die, essentially. However, she proposed something a little different, and her conclusion simply was that sensitive mothers that were sensitive and responsive to their child's needs, and the things that the child needed in that moment, as well as the emotions that the mom was recognizing, this is where we would bring into the equation emotional intelligence, tended to raise children with a secure attachment style. Now, it does go vice versa. If the mother was unresponsive to the child's needs or emotions simply through ignoring them or being impatient, maybe the mother got frustrated with how the child was acting, the child was a lot more likely to have an insecure attachment style. Now, Ainsworth also concluded that there were 3 attachment styles that were found prominently in her study. Those were the secure attachment style, the insecure avoidant attachment style, and the insecure ambivalent/resistant attachment style. By the time of 1990, there was a 4th attachment style called disorganized attachment style. So in the following videos, what we are going to do is analyze what each attachment style is and give you the ability to bring yourself back into alignment with what you should be. Now, when I did a study on this in community college, one of the things that I found out was that 60% of humans in this conducted study by a National Institute for Health, or it was a university, found that 60% of humans had a secure attachment style. So for those of you who are really chomping at the bit, I am posting a link below this video. When the video is done, just go in the description, and I'm sharing a link from a UK study that was conducted that explains some attachment styles, the 4 primarily, and yes, they did get renamed, so that's the biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that the attachment styles did get renamed and they changed over time. But we will dig into those deeper. Don't worry about the names right now, that's just semantics. What we really want is the meat and potatoes of this, and that is to find out, if you're interested, what attachment style you are. Because this doesn't just affect us, this affects our relationships with long-term partners. It affects our relationship with those in the workplace. And so let me just read off here real quick for you. These are just some of the questions that they ask in this study. I fear that once someone gets to know the real me, he or she won't like who I am. And these are true or false questions, basically, and you're supposed to answer them to the best of your ability. Another one is, when my partner is away, I'm afraid that he or she might become interested in someone else. I have little difficulty expressing my needs and wants to my partner. I'm comfortable sharing my personal thoughts and feelings with my partner. And so on and so forth. And then at the end, there's also a description of the secure, insecure, anxious, all those attachment styles. That gives you a brief synopsis on what you are most likely to be. Now, this isn't a 100% guaranteed, this is what you are, you know. This isn't like the Zodiac where I'm like, oh, I was born at this time, on this day, and this is what I am. So, yeah, we are going to revisit this in following videos, and I will see you in the next one. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them below. And as always, stay frosty.